Hello, 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 beautiful people. And we are back with another episode of Honey, It's Yours.
Come on now.
And
I'm Sarah.
Oh, okay.
I'm Danae.
I'm Brianne.
And I'm Ashley, and we're back with another episode. And today we're talking about something deep, but to preface, we are off a 2.5-hour brunch. So, bottom line.
You ain't have to let them know what the word was.
Let's be real.
We did.
We off a brunch, and today we're going to talk about forgiveness.
And frankly, it could be the best thing or the worst thing that ever happened to this episode, but we will not know until today.
Find out. Stay tuned.
So, like, forgiveness. What is forgiveness?
What is forgiveness?
Oh.
You could go Oxford. You could go personal.
Yeah, let's go Oxford. Let me pull up Oxford. Oh, let me start the timer.
Forgiveness, I feel like I'll start it off because this was my idea to discuss. And I feel like it's because, one, I was inspired by another podcast I listened to. It's called Your Favorite Aunties. Great podcast. Great podcast.
I never heard of them.
It's fantastic.
It's the two of them, right?
Yes, the two of them. And they're speaking about forgiveness and like what that looks like. And they're in their lower mid 30s. So I think it would be really cool for us to discuss as well, just to kind of get another perspective, but just understanding what forgiveness looks like and what that means to us and how it's kind of transitioned as we've grown from like youth to like young adulthood to where we are right now. So for my definition of forgiveness, I take it to a really high degree just because it's kind of foundational to like my values and stuff, and just like I think about like the Lord and how he forgives us. So I feel like I have to forgive others. So forgiveness isn't as deep as some other people hold it for me, like, because I think it's also one of those things that's subjective. Forgiveness is like acknowledging what someone has done to make you feel a way and choosing to move past it and rectify said situation. And I say all of that because I don't know if I necessarily forgive everyone, but I do move past things, right, for peace.
Yeah.
But I do think that forgiveness as a whole includes that whole rectifying the situation and acknowledging that something did happen and saying, hey, you know what, XYZ did happen and I'm going to choose to forgive you because of it.
I think it's interesting how you define forgiveness in the fact of like acknowledging something happens. There's something that happens in between that. There's a rectifying period, and then there's a moving forward. And it's interesting to define like what is rectifying.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
I feel like the forgiveness lies within the rectifying.
Within the rectification.
And then
absolutely.
the moving forward is what happens after forgiveness and how you move after you forgive. Like,
right.
So you're splitting it into phases almost.
Yeah, because for me, I think forgiveness is not as simple because we as humans, I think we don't forgive as the Lord would forgive us.
Right.
Definitely not.
Because we hold on to memories, we feel pain. It's very real and like tangible sometimes. I think forgiveness for us is more so a journey of trying to make ourselves feel good in what happened, or making ourselves feel at least okay in what happened, like understanding what happened is making
like
ourselves
closure.
feel okay what happened, and then moving forward after that.
Okay.
So yeah, the rectifying period I think is the like forgiveness period. I think it's a journey, like I said, of like, because we're humans, we tend to hold on to the memories and like how we felt about a situation that holds us back from like truly rectifying. But also rectification, I feel like
What is rectification?
there's layers to that, because there's also the period of like what you said, acknowledging there's something that happens, and then there's a moving forward period.
Right. So I call it, in my head, there's the phase of forgiveness, and there's two options. You can forgive and forget, or there's forgiveness and reconciliation. So when you forgive and forget, then you moved on. It's your choice whether to actually go back to the person that hurt you or caused the issue. And then forgive and reconcile is you actively choose to be back in that situation and not disregard what happened in the past, but you've come to terms with it and you now know how you need to move forward in the situation.
So would you say that in the forgive and forget situation that you forgive and you never bring up what happened again?
One thing I'm going to do is remember. I don't forget things.
So then, what is the forgive and forget as a human being?
That's for other people. That's not for me. I'm being so for real because as like, and you brought up how Christ forgave and how like all of that happened. I don't think we are expected to forgive how Christ forgave because that is literally like not realistic whatsoever. In my eye.
But I feel like he calls us to forgive and reconcile.
100%.
See, okay.
Rather than forgive and hold a grudge.
I don't know, but so I don't think you can
because you can't forget because we're humans. We have memories.
You can't forget.
So
exactly.
for me,
I don't think it's wise to forget either.
I don't think there's a thing as forgiving and holding a grudge being in the same sentence. I think so. To go back and then come back to where we are now, right? Like, no, what I'm saying is like. You said rectify. I want to know more about what we think rectifying means because I feel like you can choose to forgive somebody and you can choose not to reconcile. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's more like your intention behind the choice to not reconcile. But I think that's where it becomes a yes or no for me personally. But what you were talking about Jesus, what were we just talking about?
Forgive and a grudge.
I think holding a grudge is not forgiving. Right, I think that I can sit here and I can forgive you for acting a certain way that you acted, but then still make an active decision to not allow us to get back into that space again.
But is that reconciling?
So
I think reconciling is bigger than that, right? Because reconciliation may not, at least for me, when I have situations, I can be upset about a situation. I'm choosing to forgive you for a situation, but I'm still choosing to reconcile with you as a person. So me choosing to allow you to be in my space as a person is bigger than the situation. I may still no longer, I may not allow us to get into a space to even let that specific thing happen again. But it's not me choosing to not forgive you. It's me being wise and me using wisdom and choosing that like, I'm not going to put us back in this space to even allow this thing to happen at this point in time. I'm choosing to still have you in my life, in my circle, in this way or not. And even if I chose not to do that, it doesn't mean I didn't forgive you. Because for me, lack of forgiveness is more like when it goes to like, I think a tangible way for me to see if I forgave a person or not is how do I feel if I have to now speak about this person to somebody else. That's just me.
It's a good standard. I'm not gonna lie.
Because it's just like, you and I could get into something today and we do our thing. We may choose to forgive each other, we may choose to move forward, but we may still choose to never get back into that specific scenario with each other. For a multitude of reasons. It could be because we're trying to preserve our peace. It could be because we're not certain. Like, I don't want to talk about this person, but like, let's just say there's a situation where somebody does something in a space, and it's like, in addition to you hurting me in that space, I'm also not 100% sure whether you're at a place where you can trust yourself to be back in that space and behave the way you're supposed to either. Like, I'm not going to allow that to be a scenario, period, for us. That doesn't mean that I don't love you. That doesn't mean that I don't appreciate you. That doesn't mean that I don't respect you. But that task is not a task that you will do. I'm giving that task to somebody that I'm sure is equipped to handle that task. And then we move forward and we move on. And it doesn't mean that I don't love or appreciate you, but it's just like, that's that. And when somebody else asks me how you are, I'm not going to sit here and bring that up to them. If they're like, I want to assign this person here, I'll be like, maybe don't assign them to that spot, but I'm not telling them details. I'm not telling them all those little in-between things, because that's, for me, that's no longer forgiveness, right? Like, that's me like holding that against you and associating that with you as a person. And I don't think those things can happen together for me. I don't know.
A couple things. Reconcile and to rectify are two different things.
I 100% agree.
So just so that we can clarify for the sake of understanding and making sure we're all on the same page. According to the Oxford Language Dictionary, to reconcile is to restore friendly relations between two, right? So that takes two. And then to rectify is the action of putting something right. So when you rectify something, you are making it better, but to reconcile is to now go the extra step of restoring the relationship that you once had with a person. Because forgiveness it's a one-sided thing in the sense that I can forgive you without you having to forgive me, right? Because it's about what's going on in my sphere. It's not necessarily an us sphere. When it comes to now reconciliation, that's when it becomes a we thing, because now I'm going out of my way to make it
sure that
not only do I forgive you and I'm
making this right
but
again.
I'm making this right for
Again.
us so that we can move forward in a positive direction.
Right. So that was my exact point. Reconciliation sounds more of a two-way thing. Where if me and you are in a conflict, you also have to want to reconcile in the situation. Whether you were wronged or not, whoever side it was, both sides have to be a party to that. Rectifying sounds like whoever wronged you is the person who has the onus to correct the situation and to make it up to you. Yes,
I don't think rectification has a place in forgiveness.
Really?
I think
The act of putting something right.
I think the act of putting something right is you deciding that they wronged you, and you are deciding for yourself. You're trying to find a way for them to make it right. They have to rectify the situation.
Because
that's not forgiveness.
That's not forgiveness.
Because my thing is like, and I'm gonna put it in this circle because it's easy for me to put in this circle because I know you guys. You know, we're still learning each other. We're always learning each other. But I feel like I use Ashley because it's Ashley. Ashley and I can get into something. I can think Ashley 100% wronged me. Ashley may not think what she did was wrong. She may still say I'm sorry. She may still be apologetic because she didn't intend to hurt my feelings. But rectification.
But we rectify the situation.
No,
it's a we thing.
I think
we make it right again. We rectify the situation. We come to an understanding of what happened, and then we decide to move forward and make it better.
And I think that's
in the definition of rectification and move forward.
And I think that's
that.
actually reconciliation.
Reconciliation is then us deciding to come and move forward.
That's what you just said, though.
No, rectifying is making it better. Reconciling is deciding to make it better to move forward.
And I think that this is where we will all just agree to disagree or whatever. But for me, like when I think of rectification, it's like I'm coming into it in a headspace that there's something that I need you to make right.
So I think that's what it is. That's the issue. Is you are thinking of what they must do. Reconcile is something that you must do within yourself.
I'm not talking about reconciliation.
You're not talking about reconciliation. Rectification,
yeah,
right? Forgive me. Reconciliation. So reconciliation, I think you're looking at it as you're in a situation where they have done something and you must forgive them, so they must reconcile because they're the one that did
not
it wrong.
reconciliation.
I keep saying the wrong word. It's rectification. It's rectification. I'm looking at rectification. It's to rectify.
To rectify.
But I think I think across the board,
the action of putting something right.
So if you were in
the conversion of an alternative,
if you hurt me in a situation and I come to it ready or whatever,
but I think that's the reason. I think
they must rectify.
Exactly, but you said they must rectify, and I don't think that's what we're talking about.
We're talking about.
I think that's because you're viewing forgiveness as of you, like it's a.
I think rectification has to occur regardless if somebody has wronged you.
It's not a view thing. I don't think it's a you versus me, we versus thing.
It's not a versus thing. It's just a natural thing that should happen if somebody
Whose
has
job
wronged
is it to
you.
rectify is my question.
Whose job is it to forgive?
No, that's
forgiveness.
Hold on. I'm saying I disagree with that entirely. That's my point. Because rectification for me is not the same as
it's not like you're like saying like, oh, you have to.
Rectification is what you just said. Somebody has to make something right. Right is a perspective. Forgiveness is choosing that regardless, like you and I can get into beef today.
Correct.
Whether we decide to talk tomorrow or not, I can still choose to forgive you. Me choosing to forgive you and moving on has nothing to do with you deciding that what you did was right or wrong.
Right, but
believing that forgiveness is right is the right.
That's my point. My whole thing is I don't think forgiveness is something that has to do with the other person. So forgiveness is something that has to do with yourself. Rectification, saying something has to be made right, is you deciding that something has been made wrong. For you to say something has to be
circles,
we are.
I'm just saying if you're gonna say that something has to be rectified, no, we're not. But
we're not saying the same thing.
We're not saying the
going
same thing.
Around.
I'm just saying if you're saying something has to be made right, that you actually saying that something was wrong.
But that's how do we get to forgiveness? That's why something happened that was wrong. That's why we must forgive. You don't forgive if everything's going right. Why is
my point is the difference between rectification and reconciliation.
I think you're saying,
and I just don't think they're the same thing, so they belong in the same sentence.
Hold on. I think what you're saying is that the idea of rectification just makes you sound like you're still pointing the finger at the person who wronged you. But I think regardless, if you and I get into a beef, is it not a natural instinct of you to want to make things right?
If you're viewing it from a forgiveness standpoint.
So now
So
it
the first step
depends.
is forgiveness.
What
If
is
you
forgiveness?
wronged me, I forgave you. Don't you have to take the extra step to rectify the situation?
Forgiveness is
I
trying to
don't
make
think it's
something right.
rectification. I think it's reconciliation.
So-
That's
With
what I'm
you-
saying.
But
So-
hold on, no,
But-
guys, wait a second.
That's what I'm saying.
You can sit here. Reconciliation is if both sides are ready to be okay with the situation and move forward.
Okay.
Rectification, I'm saying, is I forgive you, but you have wronged me, meaning that you have 90% of the effort to bring back to the situation to rectify
And
what
I
you
just
did
don't
wrong.
think rectification, for me, I just don't think rectification is the word to put into that space.
So what would you
Because
put?
at that point, it's me choosing to forgive you in spite of or regardless
What
of.
is forgiveness for you?
That's the.
We can get there in a
where
second,
we're at.
but I'm just saying, like, the
I
word
know, but we're
rectification.
getting to it.
We about to get there, but I'm just saying, for like, rectification legitimately is saying, I think you have wronged me and you need to make it right. And
You
forgive.
do.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying forgiveness is not about me telling you need to make it right. Forgiveness
about
is
you
about
wanting to do
me
that.
deciding to forgive you whether you make it right or wrong.
Okay, so
That's
now,
my point.
Yes.
okay, going outside of you though,
Yeah.
you don't think the other person is not required, but
I think it
they're
plays a
not-
role in humanity
they're not
as it makes it
required.
easier.
they're not required
Yeah.
to do that. But that's what rectification is. The other person
just
is a
told-
person
I just
to
told you.
bring that 90%
What
in.
is forgiveness to you?
Forgiveness is a very much internal thing. Me getting to a point where I'm okay with this happening or playing out regardless of, and I'm choosing to love you in spite of that, understanding that there may be things that are bigger than me and greater than me that are at play, and just choosing to be okay with that.
So being okay with the situation, regardless if it's wrong, right, indifferent.
See, I don't think
So
wrong-
you're just okay with the situation.
My thing is,
you
I don't-
forgiving a situation is just okay. I acknowledge the situation. It's okay whether you move this, whether you move.
I'm choosing
left
to love
or
you as a
right,
person
it's
in spite
okay.
of me being okay on a personal level with the things that you have done. Because for me, wrong and right don't sit in the same sentence as forgiveness. Because that's me qualifying the actions that you did in accordance to my perspective on it. That's just me. I'm not saying it's a right thing or a wrong thing, but I'm just saying I can't sit here and say you were wrong and then still be like, but I 100% forgive you. That's just how I look at it. I could be 100% wrong though. Who am I? I'm not Jesus. That's just my whole take on it.
Go ahead.
And that's why I don't like the words rectification, because rectification is me pointing the finger at you saying you were wrong. You weren't wrong from your perspective in rectification.
So I think in my definition, I messed up. I made forgiveness too much, right? The whole rectification and reconciling is kind of like phase 2. But forgiveness in
That's why I said
itself,
it's a journey.
it is
That's
a
why I
journey.
started
And
with
according to the
its
definition, which
parts.
makes sense with what Danae is saying, is it is to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. So just the internal choice to stop feeling a way towards someone for whatever happened is the forgiveness.
regardless if it was right, wrong, or indifferent.
Or whatever the case. So when you go to step 2 now, if you choose to rectify and to reconcile with this person, that is another thing separate from the forgiveness itself. The forgiveness had to happen prior to you
Internally.
choosing
That's not them
to
at all.
continue on to the next phase. They're two independent variables,
And
but
that's-
still they
I think-
rely on each other
I
for
think
them
that's
to be
why we're
successful.
going back. I think I was going back to what Sarah said. There's two sides of like forgive and forget or forgive and reconcile. And I think even though I might not forgive and reconcile is in my belief, biblically, the right thing to do.
Forgive and reconcile.
Forgive and reconcile.
Not every situation
Because-
is meant to reconcile.
I think that's the flesh talking, and that's the memories. That's the hurt that we feel
You think-
because we feel the hurt that we are holding ourselves back from reconciling. But I think biblically, and according to what I have read and interpreted and internalized myself, even though I have a hard time doing it, we are supposed to forgive and reconcile to the point that is able to, like, as much as we can try to, but it's always going to be like a second party in the situation, because we cannot, I mean, there's the other part of like hurting ourselves, but the part of there's a second party in the situation. You can only try to forgive and reconcile, and as much as we can move in that direction, that is the direction that we should take. But I think as a body, don't go that direction, and we try to forgive and forget. And as much as we try to forget, we don't forget. Because forgetting means is forget. Like, don't remember what happened to you and move forward like as if it didn't happen because you don't remember.
Like,
right? Forgetting is not remembering. So for you to move forward and not allow that person to move how they will move is not forgetting, because you're using prior knowledge in the future movements.
I don't think people ever really forget.
And that's a human thing. That's what I said. I didn't say I'm.
But I do have to disagree with you that every situation needs forgiveness and reconciliation.
I think that's the right thing to do.
No, because there's certain situations where people.
I mean, try to do the right thing to try to do.
I'm sure people have wronged you in your life before.
Yes.
100%.
I'm gonna bring this together in a second.
And you can forgive. That's the biblical manner. But I don't think the next step is that I still need to keep you in my life.
But
reconciliation to me is me still being able to be in the same room with you,
cordial,
and being alright.
Cordial.
It's some situations where and maybe this is an immature thing. Go ahead, whatever. But I don't think God sits here and says you need to be okay with everybody. I'm gonna still treat you with respect, regardless of what it is. But reconciliation means that you have the same power and influence and appreciation in my life that you did before you did the wrong thing.
So you're saying forgive and forget.
Forgive and reconcile.
So what is your choice of living? Forgive and
I forgive and reconcile, but I hate it.
So can I say something?
Truly, I really don't. And like, the more I grow, the more I really do hate it. My fault. Go ahead.
No. So what I would say is, I think what it should be, or what it is forgive and reconcile with wisdom. I think that's the part that's missing, because at the end of the day, like, of course the Bible says forgive and forget. The Bible says, like, you treat each other as one another, like, love each other. The greatest of all these things are love. All those things are in there. But the Bible also says, be wise in the things that you do. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, like, 100%. And I think that's the point. Because you can forgive and you can choose to still love somebody from a distance. You can still choose to be with somebody, like, to tell somebody, you're not acknowledging their presence when you walk in a room, but you're also choosing, once again, to not allow them in your life in the same capacity until you're 100% sure that they can fulfill that for themselves and for you. And that's where the wisdom comes into it for me. Like, if you have stolen from me and I chose to forgive you for stealing, I'm not going to tell everybody you're a thief, but I'm also not going to put you in charge of money at my next lounging event until you have, like, we have decided, like, you can still be there, you can still support me, I'm still going to love on you, you could take my pictures, you could do social media, you could serve food, you could do whatever you want, but you're not doing money. And that's not me holding that against you. I'm not holding that against you. I'm not, but that's me. It's not me holding it against you. Because if somebody gives you money for me,
bro, it sounds
and
like
you come to me and you say,
but it sounds like you're validating too. Ash,
no, it's not technically. You were bad with money with me, so therefore I'm not gonna put you in a money position.
Correct.
Because you have been bad with
you
me.
Have shown me your colors.
You have shown me. I'm holding that standard.
I'm not doing it as a you have shown you
until you prove yourself
but
otherwise.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, you have. It's not a I'm showing you have shown me your colors. My thing is, if you come to me, you say,
I'm just using the words that y'all use.
All I'm saying is,
how else do you want people to operate?
If somebody comes to me and say, Danae, somebody gave me $20 for you, I'm not going to question you as to, did they actually give me 25? Did they actually give you 35? I'm going to take the 20 you gave me at your word, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to, if I know that this is an area that you have struggled in, that you have shown me that you have struggled in, I'm not going to put you in a place to struggle. That don't make no sense.
Also, if you have shown me your true colors,
I don't like saying that
once, twice, thrice. If you have shown me how you're going to be in a certain situation, I would be dumb.
I don't think that's
you in that same position.
That's
being realistic, though.
So did you forgive them?
Yes, but again, if that's
forgiving
your true
you
nature,
is me choosing, in spite of the fact that you did something that I thought was wrong, in spite of you doing something that hurt me, to still being in your presence, to still loving you, to still showing up for you, allowing you to show up for me in ways that are good for me. That's the forgiveness part of it. But honestly, that's not wisdom. It's a separate situation. I'm gonna bring it back because I love to talk about Bahasa. when COVID happened, we do our 60 times at the bridge. We do greet somebody in Jesus' name. The Bible also says be wise. So when COVID started, we not hugging and kissing in Jesus' name. We give an elbow bump in Jesus' name. I'm not holding COVID against you, but I'm not letting you to bring COVID to me either. Like I don't know how to explain it in a very like. I'm trying to take it out of the forgiveness realm, but it's just like it's not that deep.
In case
It's
you
the
have
resentment.
COVID, here's a bump, but I still love you in Jesus' name.
I do still love you in Jesus' name.
In case you have COVID, though, I'm gonna give you a bump. But
And-
that's you still
and I don't-
moving
So
with the preconceived notion of COVID.
of something in the past.
Okay,
It's-
and that's not the same thing as me not
Are you not supposed
forgiving
to
you.
operate like that?
I'm not saying it's wrong, right, or indifferent. I'm just saying
You don't operate
what
like
you guys
that?
are saying
is a little
is
bit.
kind of contradictory to what you guys are saying.
I don't think what I'm saying
How
is
you
contradictory
figure,
because I can
bro?
forgive you
How do you
and
fig-
love you and
can.
still
You're saying that I'm not
choose
gonna
Forgiveness
hold.
not put
You're
you in
saying
a
I'm not
situation
gonna
to hurt
hold
me.
something that you did prior
Forgiveness
in the
to me?
in the present.
Nah.
But I'm gonna use something that happened prior in the present.
I didn't
That's
say
what
hold-
y'all just said.
Hold on.
That's what y'all said.
Pause. Forgiveness to me. Forgiveness to me. For example, Rianne told somebody else something about me that I didn't want somebody else to know.
So you're not gonna tell the Rihanna nothing about you now.
Not
So
I'm
based on what happened prior, so I just said the same thing that
Okay,
y'all said.
but
I'm
again-
not saying
Same
that's
thing.
We're
We're
saying
saying
the same
the
thing, but I'm
But
just
I don't
saying.
think that's
Okay,
what I said, but
I'm
okay.
repeating what you said to
right,
to
but
me.
okay. So now my follow up question is, how do you want people to move otherwise?
How do I want?
I think
said
that
Or
for
how
me-
do you
for
move
me,
otherwise?
Okay, for me, I already acknowledged that. I
I'm
don't
flaring
move,
my nose. I'm not pissed off. I'm just.
I don't move
I'm
in the
getting
way
annoyed.
that I should, right? I don't move in the way that I should, but I can also recognize that I don't move in the way that I should, right? For me, I try my best to forgive, but I do not forget, and I do not try my best to reconcile. I forgive you and I move forward. I do not allow you in my space again in the way that you have hurt me before.
Correct.
So I do not forget.
Correct.
And I don't try my best to be your friend again or try to be in the same position I was with you again. So that's not
And
reconciling.
I guess for me, my
So-
definition of forgiveness is loving you still.
So that's what it is.
Because-
Forgiveness is to stop
So,
feeling angry
I
or
stop
stop
feeling
feeling
angry.
resentful.
So I do
And
that.
now the difference is
I stop
between
feeling
what Ashley,
angry.
Hold on. Let
the
I
difference
stop
between
feeling
what
angry and I move and I go about how I want to move about
the
after
difference
that.
between what Ashley is saying and what y'all are saying is this. Both of y'all are choosing to forgive. You are moving past it. There's no longer anger. There's no longer resentment. Ashley takes it a step further, and you are no longer even going to have this position. Y'all will say, I will put you in a different position given what you just did until
you
you
guys
can
are
prove to
calling
me
it
that you
reconciling
belong back
or-
in said position. The reconciling and the recon whatever else
Uh-huh.
is missing because this is an internalized choice.
Yeah.
This is not a I'm communicating with you that we
Right.
are going to do this together. Because you're making that within yourself, that's why that aspect is missing. Y'all are saying the same thing. It's just to a different capacity.
I don't claim to reconcile. I don't claim to rectify. Even though I should reconcile and rectify, I don't do that. I cannot acknowledge that I don't do that, but I do forgive.
I'm
One
not
thing
trying to
for
put you
sure-
on the spot,
Go ahead.
but I have a.
I don't do that.
No, my question
Go
is
ahead.
this, right? Because like, and this is my experience with you, and you can 100% call me out.
Mm-hmm.
You are very much I can see you in the room and not acknowledge your presence kind of person. So where is that with forgiveness? Because I don't think those two things belong in the same
Because
sentence
you're
or space.
conflating forgiveness with other things. That you're taking forgiveness on a journey. What we decided forgiveness was in the definition.
To stop
I'm
feeling
being
was to
angry
stop
and
feeling
stop
angry.
feeling
But I'm not
resentment.
gonna reconcile with you. I'm not gonna make again. I'm not gonna make again a situation or a relationship with you. So the relationship I had with you was saying hi, was saying good morning, was doing what I do with
right.
XYZ with you. I'm not rectifying. I'm not making it right again with you. I'm not gonna be going to brunch with you again. I'm not gonna be rolling in the car with you again. I'm not gonna be keying with you again. Okay? But I don't feel no type of way about you. You can win without me. Shout out to Kai when he said that. You can win. I wish you the best, but without me. I'm not reading nothing with you.
And I just
Read nothing.
But I think for me,
Forgive
and
go about your business over there.
and for me, this is me judging you, and I have to work on it too.
I don't
because
give a damn.
No, it's not even about that, right? Because I'm not saying to
No,
go to.
because that's what
I'm not
the definition is.
I'm not saying to go to brunch and do all the.
And I would say I'm right. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying you're saying. I'm just saying I'm not saying go to brunch and do all the extracurricular activities, but I'm saying to be in a space with somebody and somebody not even acknowledge it. Like if they say good morning to you and you don't acknowledge their presence, that's not, you're holding that shit against them. No. And that's just my perspective on it, because there's a difference between no, I'm saying there's a difference.
If someone says good morning to me, I'm gonna say good morning.
You're not gonna initiate good morning.
My whole thing is, if they're laughing and you're not here to kiki solely because they don't want to start the joke, but the joke was still funny, you're holding more against them than just, oh, it was funny and I'm not laughing at it. And that I'm not saying I'm perfect about it. I'm just bringing it up because
so you're saying that I'm not forgiving that person.
For me, it's just I don't see that as
so what is
forgiveness.
So once again,
I think you forgave them. I think you forgave them. Guys, the step after forgiveness is really on the person, and I think once you start disrespecting the person who you forgave,
that's not forgiveness. If you're disrespecting
that's a problem, right? Correct. I agree with that 100%. But if I'm sitting here and saying that I cannot let you be in the same capacity that you were before, that is a wise decision, because hello. You wrong me. I'd be a fool.
I agree.
I'd be a fool. And I don't think that what we're doing. I don't think what we're doing. Hold on. All my life, bro. Jesus is the only person that could do that. He had Peter betray him 3 times, and he still brought him back.
But I don't think
That's
what we're
Jesus.
doing. But I don't think what we're doing is right.
Why?
I never said what I'm doing is right.
Why?
I said how. I already said that in the beginning.
Why is it not right?
I don't think what I'm doing is right because you try to be more Jesus-like.
I'm gonna find the verse.
Sorry, but
I'm gonna find the verse because my pastor preached about this.
I don't think it's right. But
go ahead, Ree.
Actually, not done yet.
Go ahead.
Finish your sentence.
Go ahead.
But like what?
I don't think I already acknowledge it's not right. But that's how I move because sometimes
it's not right.
every day we wake up and fight with the flesh, and that's part of forgiveness.
So this is
because we have to forgive ourselves too sometimes.
This is my question.
I'm not the best.
Because we are going to talk about self-forgiveness, but does forgiveness require the next step?
Yeah.
That's my question. That whole rectify.
Like I think what we said. Sorry, I cut y'all off. Let me be quiet.
Okay, but that's my question. My question is.
I think reconciliation, like you said, is a 2-person thing. So you cannot reconcile on your own.
Right.
I think the forgiveness process, and this is just me. Mm-hmm. I think I choose to love you. I can now determine how much of you do I want in my space, but I'm not holding it against you, and I'm not looking at you and looking at that thing. I'm just protecting myself in my heart, but I'm not holding that shit against you. And
so then does forgiveness require
more than that?
What is forgiveness conditional?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So you don't need an apology.
It shouldn't.
Forgiveness is something that you do on your own.
But that's my
whole thing to begin with. That's where I started. You cannot ask somebody else, like, you can say I forgive you, and they can say okay. They can accept, or they don't have to accept your apology. Forgiveness is something that you do for yourself, so it's not conditional. Yes. It's something that you're choosing to do on your own.
Yes and no, because I know for me, sometimes depending on the situation,
it may be easier to forgive.
I need an apology in certain situations. I need you to be able to say, I'm sorry, this is what I did, in order for me to forgive you. And even though I'm sorry is just a word, and they don't even have to mean it, I think just the fact alone of hearing the acknowledgement that I did do something, and I am letting you know that I apologize for what I did. And now whether or not it's sincere is a whole separate conversation.
And I think
I agree.
That just makes it easier to forgive.
It's an enabler.
Necessary.
And that's what I'm like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying that I'm like this
easier.
I'm not this holy art thou person that forgive everybody just cause. I'm just saying at the root of it, forgiveness is something that I have to choose to do for me.
Okay.
Like I cannot, like, yes, it will be easier to forgive you if you actually acknowledge that you hurt me in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But whether you acknowledge to do that or not, I still have to make a choice for myself whether I choose to forgive or not. Do I do it all the time? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not.
So like, let's take a step back for a second. I'm gonna give y'all a scenario that I was in a month and a half ago. I'm gonna give y'all 2 scenarios. So, because people be testing my life. Clearly, I'm a joke. I have joke on my forehead.
Say clown.
Clear skin. It does not say joke.
Shorty from out here, did some snake shit behind my back.
You know who we're talking about.
Was very federally. And then, so in my head, right now, currently, forgiven. Don't want you anywhere near me, though. ever again.
So that's forgiveness without the reconciliation and the
And I don't need, but I don't.
And you don't need that.
I don't need to reconcile.
And I don't think you do. That's not the part of forgiveness.
Okay,
There's 3 different
you're
words.
disagreeing, and I don't understand.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay,
I said forgiveness is to stop feeling a way about the person.
correct.
Like I said, you can forgive somebody, and I can say, I wish the best for you away from me.
What's
you have to wish the best.
Okay, so now
No,
just move past
no. Because for me, for me to stop feeling, if I feel angry about you,
I don't wish
I don't
nothing
wish
for
you
you.
nothing
I
well.
don't wish
No,
nothing
for
good.
you.
I don't wish
You
nothing
could
well
ride
for
the
you.
pit of hell for
I
us.
want you to do.
Wait.
I want you to do the best, but away from me. I
Get
want
away.
you to win. I want you to succeed, but away from me.
Correct. So my
But-
question,
Ashley, and I'm getting to the but. This is the but outside of my flesh is for you to try, and the trying is not make, but to try to have a conversation and see if you guys can because the prefix remake, come back
Yeah.
to
Run it back.
wherever you were before.
No
If
turn.
we cannot come back to where we were before, that's all. That's the best you could do. All we can do is our best.
that's madness.
But sometimes we don't go the extra step to come back.
Don't need to sometimes.
bro, you heard
But
that
sometimes
J. Cole-
I stop
No,
right
no.
here and
Bro,
say,
That's
do the
sufficient.
best you can away from me.
God bless.
I literally think that is a
That's
wise
for
way
me.
to operate. That person does not need to be in your life anymore. Especially in certain situations where people disrespect you to a point of no return. You want me to sit there and still have a conversation with you? I will forgive you 100%.
You know how
I
sometimes-
will not feel a type of way, but you have no place in my life.
I'm
how are
different
you?
there, so I
how
just
are you asking
can't
me?
relate.
Actually, look at me right now. How are you asking
You
me?
was telling me to. You already
to
know how I
still-
move.
I feel you. We're on the same page, but I'm
You already
saying
know
like
how I move.
I genuinely
I will
don't.
not see you in my eyes.
I don't think that we're
Blind.
bro.
No eyes on.
I don't think that
I
we're
will
still
not see you.
called to have to make
You
it.
will- I will not
have to do that dialogue. I don't think we're called to do that.
I think if it's so.
He did not. Come on, bro. Be for real.
I think, and I move differently in general. Like I'm a big closure person, holistically.
Get away from me with that.
Closure.
But
It's not.
closure is
I don't believe in closure.
No, let
no,
us speak,
closure is like
let
the
us
easiest way for me to like explain it for other people to understand.
I
But
was
like
listening
I
to you.
think no, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. I think like it's. I'm trying to find like the words to make this make sense.
Can I ask you a question to help you make it make sense? Is closure a real thing?
No, that's also internal. They can say whatever they want.
But
You
I
gotta-
thought you need that.
I know, but that's not the point of what I'm saying.
Oh,
My thing to say what
I don't
like,
need nothing
what
close.
Sarah was saying is like I think like all of it kind of comes.
Leave it on the last page.
All of it
Open.
for me it's just like all of it kind of comes together, right? Like I feel like for the most part, I mean, of course we don't get it right, but I've chosen the people to be in my life for the reasons that I chose them to be in my life. So I don't remove anybody from my life solely because of A, B, or C. I think that we have all, like, none of us are perfect, and we're not always going to get it right, and we're all going to do some things that are going to hurt people to different degrees and whatever. For me, it's like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have the conversation. I always have the conversation with, and like once the conversation happens, that then kind of chooses how I continue to move. Because it's like, if we're in a place where like, if you don't think what you did was wrong, yeah, if you're not
If you don't understand the principle.
no, it's not. It's just like for me, it's like if you're not concerned with acknowledging, like even if I don't necessarily understand or agree with this, I'm sorry I hurt you. Like if we can't go there, then for me, there's no space to even begin to reconcile. Because for me, all of those things kind of come together.
Correct. I agree
So
with
it's
that.
like I can choose to love you. I can choose to forgive you. I'm never gonna not speak to somebody. That's not how I kind of go through life. I can't do that. My life is just not set up that way. Like I talk to the people in my life because we're all intertwined. So I'm gonna chop it up. Like we'll do what we have to do, and then that's the kind of the extent of that. When it comes to moving past that, it's just like I don't know. And I don't think, like I said, for me, reconciliation is a completely separate thing from forgiveness, because if somebody else comes up to me to talk to me about you, they don't need to know what we just went through. They don't need to know the ins and outs of that. And I'm not going to also be like, I don't got nothing to say about them, because that says a lot in itself.
Right.
My experience with this person was this. We were cool. It was fine. It was whatever. all the X, Y's, and Z's, that's not
You don't even know
for
about that.
open discussion. And then there may even be situations, and I'm in some of those situations now, where it's like people who have wronged me in the past are trying to find ways to re-enter my life, and I'm really choosing if that's even something that I'm interested in doing. And for me, it's not that I haven't forgiven you, because I know me when I don't forgive. And I see that I'm in spaces where I'm allowing you in certain places where I would never have allowed you if I didn't care, or I don't want to. I'm putting myself in spaces to work harder at like allowing you to be in places that Danae on her own strength and power wouldn't do. But it's also like you may not need the same role. And it's okay that you don't need the same role. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay, but it's not a beef thing. It's not a I'll see you when I see you thing. It's not a I wish you the best and that's all I gotta say about it. It's really not none of that. It's just like I'm not at a point where I'm okay with you not being here. And if you end up back in my life, it's gonna be in an organic situation versus an intentional one. But that's just me.
So can I ask you a question?
I think I could be wrong, but I think that's me.
Because I think there are ties, right? Because I'm hearing how you forgive, and I'm hearing how you forgive, and I'm hearing how you forgive, and I'm realizing how I forgive, and I'm noticing differences in our personalities. So I wanna ask to everyone, how do you feel about conflict and or confrontation?
I have no problem with it.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it?
I'm a person that is risk averse, conflict averse.
All the averses.
No, I think I like being spontaneous a little bit. You know,
Okay.
I like enjoying.
So you'll throw hands
I
if
like
you got to.
being as much as
She don't have time to be risk averse in that situation.
you know. Sometimes growth happens in the uncomfortable, and
Are you open to the uncomfortable?
most times
Okay.
most times I don't strive to be uncomfortable. Okay.
Okay.
For me, I don't like conflict. Okay, I can be the first to say it. I don't like arguing. I don't like it. I don't feel the need to. Once there's an issue that cannot be resolved, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's not for me. I don't like to. I don't want to get to a level where I might come out of myself, say some things just to hurt you because you're hurting me. Yeah, I don't like that, because for me, I don't see a situation that is healthy enough for you to throw attacks at me, I throw attacks at you, and we be okay after that.
That's
No.
just not okay.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna pause.
I don't see no peace treaty after we at war.
Just done up.
It's done.
Okay.
If we gonna go there, we gonna go there. If I feel like you hurt me right here, I'm gonna hurt you right there too.
Same spot.
And I don't think that's godly. So therefore, I don't try to go there.
You don't let it get to
Therefore, I
that
try
point.
to remove myself before
Before it gets
we
to
get
that
there.
point.
Before we
Understand.
escalating.
Because one thing I'm gonna do if you get me to that point,
Because one thing
I'm
I'm gonna
dishing
do.
it back.
It's violent.
If I get if
I'll violate.
if I really get to that point, I
Eye
really
for
try
eye.
not to. I'm going to.
I don't
violate.
like. I don't like it.
How do you feel about conflicts and confrontation?
I can do confrontation. I have no problem sitting down. We talking about it. I'm gonna tell you how it is. Whatever it is. As for conflict, I realized like in relationships and friendships, I avoid it as much as possible, to the point where I myself hurt myself so much to like
And swallow that.
it really
Hold it.
to this day a really bad point where I do not say how I feel in certain
To
situations.
save the situation.
And I think that comes out in other areas of my life that that are not like I think it comes out in other areas of my life with me being bold, because when it comes down to the real shit, when I like need to, you know,
So
really
they don't go
really
there.
bring up the conflict.
They already know how you move, so they don't go there.
Exactly. And I don't know. I've still been fighting with myself to like actually just like tell people when I feel a type of way about something, like I didn't like that you did this. But to me, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to tell you you upset me, and I'll just let you slide.
Oh, go ahead.
So
go ahead.
you
How do you,
said
well,
something.
No, answer your
You didn't
question.
answer the
Answer your
question.
question.
Well, I am, but it ties into what Sarah just said. This whole "I will let you slide" thing, right? Because I am an avoidant at all costs. That is the end of the sentence. If there is a conflict, I will run in the other direction, regardless of if I initiated it, if someone else initiated it. But this whole letting it slide, slur, letting it slide, is letting it slide equivalent to forgiveness?
Hey honeys, thanks for tuning in. This is part 1 of this week's episode. Please sure to listen back to part 2 coming out next week.